My supportive sister stole my identity and embezzled my inheritance. Now she wants forgiveness. I'm still reeling, trying to process everything that has happened. My entire life, my older sister, Amelia, was my rock. She was the one who always had my back, or so I thought. We were inseparable, two peas in a pod. We shared secrets, dreams, and even a ridiculous, matching tattoo of a starry-eyed narwhal on our ankles when we turned 18. Our parents, bless their hearts, always emphasized family unity, and Amelia, being the older and seemingly wiser one, naturally fell into the role of my protector and confidant. She was the one who helped me navigate the awkward teenage years, the one who listened patiently to my boy troubles, and the one who always seemed to know how to fix everything with a reassuring hug and a cup of her special comfort tea. Fast forward to our early 20s. I was a budding artist, struggling to make ends meet in a notoriously difficult field. Amelia, on the other hand, was a whiz with numbers, working her way up in a reputable accounting firm. Our grandmother, a truly remarkable woman who had always believed in my artistic talent, had left me a substantial inheritance upon her passing. It wasn't quit your job and live on a yacht money, but it was enough to give me a solid foundation, to allow me to pursue my art without the constant crushing anxiety of rent and bills. Grandmother had specifically stipulated that the money was for my artistic endeavors and personal well-being, a clause Amelia and I had laughed about, picturing me buying an easel made of solid gold. The inheritance, a sum just shy of $500,000, was set up in a trust. The paperwork was convoluted, filled with legal jargon that made my head spin. Amelia, ever the helpful older sister, offered to manage it for me. "It's what I do, little sister," she'd said, her smile warm and reassuring. "Let me take care of the boring stuff so you can focus on your masterpieces." I, naive and trusting, readily agreed. Why wouldn't I? This was Amelia, my best friend, my sister. She had always looked out for me. She handled all the banking, the investments, the taxes. I would receive regular updates, neatly compiled spreadsheets detailing the growth of my funds. Everything seemed above board. I was able to pay for art classes, buy quality supplies, and even rent a small studio space that felt like my own little haven. Life was good, and I credited a large part of that to Amelia's supposed generosity and financial acumen. Our relationship continued to flourish. We went on sister trips, celebrated holidays, and were each other's primary support system through various heartbreaks and triumphs. Amelia eventually got married to a seemingly wonderful man, David, a kind and stable engineer. I was her maid of honor, shedding tears of joy as I watched her walk down the aisle. Her career continued to climb, and she often spoke of her growing responsibilities at the firm, hinting at a future partnership. I admired her drive and success, often feeling a pang of envy, but mostly just pride. My art was slowly gaining traction. I was starting to sell pieces, get commissions, and even had a small gallery showing. I felt like I was finally finding my footing, building a life I was proud of, largely thanks to the safety net my grandmother's inheritance, managed by Amelia, had provided. The first crack in my perfect world appeared subtly, almost imperceptibly. I was applying for a new credit card, a rewards card to help with travel expenses for an upcoming art fair. The application was denied. Confused, I checked my credit score. It was abysmal. There were multiple lines of credit I didn't recognize, accounts opened in my name, and a staggering amount of debt. My heart hammered in my chest. This couldn't be right. I was meticulous with my finances, always paid my bills on time, and had never taken out a loan other than a small student loan that was almost paid off. Panic began to set in. I called Amelia immediately. "Amelia," I stammered, my voice trembling. "Something's wrong. My credit score is ruined. There are all these accounts, this debt." There was a beat of silence on the other end, then a sigh. "Oh, honey," she said, her voice laced with what sounded like sympathy. "The financial world is so predatory. Identity theft is rampant. I'm so sorry. Let me look into it for you. You know I'm good with this stuff." Her offer was a balm to my frayed nerves. Of course, Amelia would fix it. She always did. For the next few weeks, she was a whirlwind of activity, making calls, sending emails, supposedly liaising with banks and credit agencies. She'd give me updates, mostly vague, talking about complex legal processes and bureaucratic red tape. I felt a sense of relief, trusting her completely. Then, things started to unravel further. I needed to make a substantial deposit for a commissioned piece, and the funds I expected from my inheritance account weren't there. I checked the online portal for the trust, something I rarely did because Amelia managed everything. The balance was drastically lower than I anticipated. Not just a little lower, but significantly lower. Like hundreds of thousands of dollars lower. My stomach dropped. I refreshed the page, thinking it was a glitch. It wasn't. I called Amelia again, my voice tight with a fear I couldn't quite name. Amelia, the trust, the money is gone. Most of it, anyway. What happened? Another sigh. This one sounded less sympathetic, more annoyed. Look, little sister, investments are volatile. The market has been down. And with all the identity theft issues, I had to move some things around, secure certain assets. It's complicated. I'm working on it. But how much is gone? I pressed, my voice barely a whisper. A good portion, she admitted, her tone evasive. But don't worry, I'm trying to recoup losses. It'll just take some time. I hung up, a cold dread washing over me. A good portion didn't explain the near total depletion of my life savings. And the identity theft? It was too convenient, too perfectly timed with the disappearance of my funds. A horrifying thought began to form in my mind, a thought so monstrous I tried to push it away, to deny its very existence. Amelia wouldn't. She couldn't, but the seed of doubt had been planted. I started doing my own digging, something I should have done years ago. I contacted the trust administrator, a distant cousin of my grandmother's who had set up the initial paperwork. He was a kind, elderly man, a lawyer by profession, who was surprised to hear from me directly. He explained that Amelia had been the sole authorized signatory on the trust, given power of attorney by me years ago, a document I vaguely remembered signing amidst a stack of other inheritance papers, trusting Amelia to guide me. He also mentioned that substantial withdrawals had been made over the past few years, not just recently. Large sums, frequently. Not for investments, but for personal expenses. And the identity theft? He had no record of any fraudulent activity reported by me or on behalf of my accounts. The pieces of the puzzle began to click into place, each one a sharp, painful shard. The abysmal credit score, the inexplicable debt, the vanishing inheritance. It all pointed to one person. My sister. I confronted her, armed with printouts, bank statements, and a heart heavy with betrayal. We were at her house, David was at work, and her 2 young children were at school. The air was thick with tension. I laid out everything, the evidence undeniable. Amelia, I said, my voice hoarse, what have you done? She tried to deny it at first, her face a mask of indignation. How dare you accuse me, your own sister, after everything I've done for you? But as I presented the irrefutable proof, the carefully documented withdrawals, the forged signatures on loan applications, the sheer scale of the embezzlement, her facade crumbled. Her eyes welled up with tears, but they weren't tears of remorse, I realized later. They were tears of being caught. I'm so sorry, she sobbed, collapsing onto her sofa. I got into trouble. Debt. Gambling. A little bit. I thought I could pay it back. I really did. I just needed a little temporary help. Temporary help. I exploded, the years of suppressed anger and hurt finally erupting. You stole $500,000 from me, Amelia. You ruined my credit. You jeopardized my entire future. You used my grandmother's legacy, her gift to me, to fund your trouble. She continued to cry, offering pathetic excuses about the pressure of her job, the demands of raising a family, the allure of easy money from online casinos. She claimed she was going to pay it all back, that she had a plan, that she was just waiting for a big bonus. But there was no bonus coming, no plan, just a bottomless pit of lies and deceit. She had systematically drained my inheritance, leaving me with virtually nothing. And the identity theft? She admitted to opening those credit lines in my name, using my social security number, when her own credit became too strained to borrow more. She had gambled away my future, brick by painful brick. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. The Amelia I knew, the loving, supportive sister, was a phantom, a carefully constructed illusion. The real Amelia was a thief, a liar, a betrayer of the highest order. My entire perception of our relationship, of my family, was shattered that I left her house that day feeling numb, adrift. I spoke to my parents, hoping for some understanding, some outrage on my behalf. Instead, I was met with a devastating response. My mother, teary-eyed, pleaded with me, "Please, darling, don't ruin your sister's life. Think of her children. Amelia made a mistake. She'll make it right." My father, usually the more pragmatic one, echoed her sentiments, urging me to handle this internally, as a family. They couldn't, or wouldn't, see the gravity of Amelia's actions. They were more concerned with maintaining the illusion of their perfect family than with the catastrophic damage Amelia had inflicted upon me. They saw my pursuit of justice as an attack on their family unit, rather than a justified response to a grievous wrong. David, Amelia's husband, was blindsided when I finally told him the truth. He was devastated, not just for me, but for his wife, whom he had clearly believed to be a woman of integrity. He offered his apologies, his support, and even offered to help me pursue legal action against Amelia. He seemed genuinely heartbroken, and a part of me felt immense pity for him, caught in the wreckage of his wife's deceit that I did pursue legal action. It was a long, arduous, and emotionally draining process. The legal fees mounted, further depleting the small amount I had managed to salvage. But I felt I had no choice. This wasn't just about the money, it was about the fundamental breach of trust, the utter disregard for my well-being, the calculated betrayal by the one person I thought I could always count on. Amelia was eventually charged with fraud and identity theft. The court proceedings were agonizing. To see my sister, my childhood confidant, standing in a courtroom, looking at me with what I still can't tell if it was regret or resentment, was a surreal and painful experience. She was found guilty. She received a suspended sentence, probation, and was ordered to pay restitution. Restitution that, realistically, I knew I would likely never see in full. Her career was destroyed, her reputation in tatters. David, unable to reconcile himself with her actions, eventually divorced her. She lost everything she had built, including her home and custody of her children, who went to live with David. The fallout was immense. My relationship with my parents became strained, almost non-existent. They viewed me as the aggressor, the one who tore the family apart, rather than the victim. They frequently reminded me of Amelia's struggles, her lost potential, her broken family, always subtly implying that I was to blame. I eventually had to go no contact with them for my own mental health. It was a heart-wrenching decision, but I couldn't continue to subject myself to their emotional manipulation and their blatant disregard for my pain.my art career, which had been gaining momentum, stalled. The emotional toll of the ordeal was immense, draining my creativity and my drive. I struggled with anxiety and depression, haunted by the betrayal and the sense of having been utterly alone in my fight for justice. I moved to a new city, hoping for a fresh start, a chance to rebuild my life away from the constant reminders of what had happened. It was a slow, painful process, but gradually, with therapy and the support of a few true friends, I started to heal. I found a small apartment, a new community, and slowly, very slowly, my passion for art began to rekindle. Then, last week, I received an unexpected email. It was from Amelia. The subject line simply said, "Please read." My heart pounded in my chest as I opened it, a mix of dread and morbid curiosity washing over me. The email was long, rambling, filled with apologies and self-pity. She spoke of her rock bottom, her regret, her newfound faith, and how she had finally seen the error of her ways. She was working a minimum wage job, living in a small, rented room, and was struggling to make ends meet. She described herself as lonely and lost, without her children, without David, without her career, without her family. She said she missed me, missed our sisterhood, and desperately wanted my forgiveness. She wanted to make amends, to rebuild what we lost. She even attached a blurry photo of our narwhal tattoos, a stark reminder of a bond that no longer existed. She wants to meet. She wants to talk. She wants to start over. I reread the email countless times, my emotions a tumultuous mess. Part of me, the old, naive part, felt a flicker of the love I once had for her, the yearning for the sister I thought I had. Another part, the wounded, pragmatic part, saw through the words, recognizing the familiar patterns of manipulation and self-interest. Was this genuine remorse, or just another attempt to exploit my good nature? Was she truly changed, or was she simply desperate and looking for someone to lean on, someone to forgive her and alleviate her guilt? I haven't responded yet. I don't know what to say, or even if I should say anything at all. The thought of seeing her again, of reopening those old wounds, fills me with a profound sense of anxiety. But the thought of completely cutting her off, of permanently severing the last thread of connection to my past, also feels incredibly heavy. Do people truly change? Can a betrayal of this magnitude ever truly be forgiven? Can a relationship so thoroughly shattered ever be mended? My friends are divided. Some say to slam the door shut, that she forfeited her right to my forgiveness when she stole my future. Others say everyone deserves a second chance, that perhaps her suffering has truly changed her. I'm torn. I'm exhausted. I just want peace, but I also want justice and a sense of closure that I haven't quite found yet. I don't know what to do. What would you do?